British. I'm sorry, your deck is ass. Like, should I just show this to people? Like, I have to just show this to people. You're playing Tistina, Goblin Riding, the side event, breathing these nuts in the divine domain of Bastina, which is basura in Spanish. You know what basura in Spanish means? Trash.
Greetings, duelists, and welcome to another video. So, in this past week, if you've been paying attention to this channel, you know that I have been testing for Phantom Nightmare, but I have not been testing the Fire King Snake Eye deck or Tier Elements or like other strategies like those. I've been testing around with Goblin Riders, and I came across an engine that I feel is really good in the Goblin Rider strategy, but not many people like look at it from that perspective. And I feel it's kind of unfortunate because uh, I think Tistina as an archetype is not really that good. Like, I'm going to concur with a lot of people's like nuances and like uh, the Streisand effect of how things operate when it comes to this strategy. However, I kind of want to preface the fact that just because an archetype is not like playable outright does not mean that every card in said archetype is unplayable. Sometimes you need to look at it from another perspective and just like fundamentally understand that sometimes some cards that are very obscure to some players are going to be less obscure for others, and that's going to give you a competitive edge in this metagame. I've already profiled Tistina in the past. If you are interested in like seeing my thoughts on like the archetype as an entirety, I do have that video in this channel. Just feel free to scroll around or just use the search bar. Uh, I could revisit the archetype later on, but today I just want to showcase you why I chose Tistina as an engine for Goblin Riders, and why did I not choose like Punk or Phantom Knights or like Virtual World or like any other rank 3 strategy. This hand that I have right here is not the best hand. Like, you don't want to open Grand Arrival. You pretty much want to open any other Goblin Rider card. And use the Dog the Assaulter to add the Arrival, because the Arrival can become like a combo station and recursion. I am going to showcase you Breath of the Tistina. This is like the best Tistina card out of the entire archetype. Like, and it's ironic to say that because this is a common uh, from Duelist Nexus. But yeah, I'm going to just showcase you the combo and then explain like more in depth why the Tistina cards are actually really good in this archetype. So we're going to activate the Grand Arrival. The Grand Arrival is going to grab us. We're going to, for the explanation behind like everything here. We're just going to grab Mach Speed. Mach Speed is pretty much like the one you don't want to open with, and it's not the one you actually want to normal summon. But for the showcasing of this combo specifically, I'm just going to use this one because it doesn't matter which monster it is. We're just going to just show you the combo itself. Breath of the Tistina sets a monster in order to add any Tistina card. And it also gives you an extra at the normal summon for a Tistina monster. So the card that we're going to add is going to be the Demigod of the Tistina. Demigod the Tistina can special summon itself if you control a Tistina card, and it can also add you a Tistina spell or trap. So we're going to special summon the Demigod, and the Demigod is going to add us the Divine Domain of Tistina. Take note, both special summoning and adding is all one effect, so they can't Imperm or Veiler you adding with this card, but they can Ash Blossom this card. So I activate the Divine Domain. The Divine Domain, we're going to use this effect. It's going to send the Sentinel. Since we control a light attribute Tistina monster, we can special summon Sentinel from the graveyard. Both Sentinel and Hound have this effect, but Sentinel specifically is the most important one, not only because it is an extra searcher for a Tistina card, but it's also because it's level 3. So we're going to use Sentinel's effect. Sentinel is going to pop the Goblin Rider boon, and it's going to add us any other Tistina card. The Tistina card that we're going to be adding here is going to be this one, Return to the Tistina. So Return to the Tistina, this is an extender. Basically, you target a Tistina monster, and this will special summon itself, and it will copy the level of whatever Tistina you're targeting. We're going to use it in targeting the Sentinel, and it special summon itself. So now this is level 3, and this is where the synergy with Goblin Riders comes from. Now what we're going to do is we're going to special summon the Gabonga. And Gabonga is now going to do its effect, and Gabonga is going to add us any other Goblin Rider. The Goblin Rider we're going to add is Dog the Assaulter. We're going to use the Dog the Assaulter's effect. We're going to detach any material, doesn't matter which. And then we'll special summon it. We're going to use its effect, and we're going to grab Grand Arrival or Grand Meeting of the Goblin Riders. So now what we're going to do is we're going to banish the arrival from the graveyard. We're going to detach a material from the Gabonga, and that's going to add the Mach Speed back to our hand. Now we're going to activate the Grand Meeting. Grand Meeting gives us an extra normal summon for a Goblin Rider. So we're going to extra normal summon, and now we're going to do XYZ Armor Torpedo. And if you're familiar with this, this is the standard Goblin Rider combo. We're just going to put this as our random draw. This could be any card. And we're just going to put this here because we're going to XYZ summon on top of it for XYZ Armor Fortress. Armor Fortress is going to detach. We're going to grab this to our hand. And this is pretty much the standard combo that you usually do with the Goblin cards. So what does the Tistina cards provide for us that is different from any other engine? Not only does it give us our avenue for our Goblin Rider effects, but it also gives us 3 free cards that apply pressure to your opponent. And I'll explain. The field spell makes it so if your opponent controls 3 or more face-up cards, you can special summon the Crystal God from your deck. The Breath of Tistina can set a monster to add a Tistina, and that's like, you know, you can keep doing it each and every turn. And we do have other Tistina cards that actually do function with the archetype. We have Play of the Tistina, which is an extender. We have the Crystal God. We don't see it here in this list, but I do have it in the side deck. But we have the Dissonance of the Tistina, which is their themed trap card. And if you read their themed trap card, that card basically banishes the entire graveyard. If you control a Tistina XYZ monster, that is a really, really powerful effect, especially in a format that we're about to enter, where the graveyard is pretty much the most sustainable resource out of many meta competitive decks. So essentially, this is what it means. Oh, another thing to note is depending if you open a Tistina card, if you open more Tistinas, you can pretty much craft your end board and just have this layer of interruption instead of the regular interruption. And what do I mean by that? Let's say you ended up on this exact combo, but you already had Crystal God or Play of the Tistina in your hand. Essentially what you can do is you can overlay the XYZ Armor Fortress for the Night Lancer. And what you're going to do is you're going to activate Play of the Tistina. Play of the Tistina can special summon the Crystal God. The Crystal God can since we control the Crystal God, the Demigod earns a quick effect to just set all your opponent's monster. So this becomes another interruption. Then afterwards, you can use Full Armor XYZ, and Full Armor XYZ is just going to turn these two into the Divinity. And the Divinity can just send all set cards to the graveyard. So if you're playing against a stun strategy like Dynamorphia, for example, or like Labyrinth, you can pretty much just wipe out their entire board. You doing this combo. Adding to that, we have the XYZ Full Armor, and this will make it so we can attach to the Divinity, and that will prompt the effect of the Night Lancer, which is another interruption. And that's all without mentioning that you have the boon effect to detach a material, and this is another interruption because it triggers the Gabonga. There's also take note that the Gabonga also has to attach. It doesn't have to attach. It's a optional effect, but you can attach with the Gabonga during the end phase, meaning that you can pretty much attach the Noisy. And if you detach the Noisy, what you can end up doing is you can use the Noisy effect and just have Noisy become another card that you can summon. And then Noisy can just summon back Doug, and Doug can grab you like a rival for next turn. So on and so forth. This is like one replay that I had. You've probably already seen this in this channel if you've been watching my Dueling Book Adventures. But this was against the Fire King deck. And essentially what happened here is the Fire King player had IP in the back row, and they still had Appaloosa, and they had the Flamberge Dragon. The moment I activated Divine Domain, they went and they activated the Snake Eyes to special summon the IP. They activated the IP to special to link summon, and they activated SP Little Knight to banish the Divine Domain. So essentially, what happens here is they used 3 cards. In order to just get rid of this Divine Domain before we even activated the Divine Domain's effect. Meaning that if we had another copy of Divine Domain, or if we had something else, I was not playing Ghost Ogre in this list. Otherwise, I chained like Emergency Teleport to try to make it so we can dodge IP doing this. But if we would have had any other board breaker, like a Forbidden Chalice, for example, to just stop the IP effect, or like Forbidden Droplets, which we do run in this deck, like this card pretty much would have wiped out his entire board. Like, another thing we could have had that would have helped us was a removal for the Fire King Island, which is something I'll make in a future video talking about Fire Kings. So essentially, the Divine Domain or the Tistina engine as itself is really, really good at not just being part of your engine, but they also serve as board breakers. Here we had a replay against Voiceless Voice. You probably will see this video before this one, but I had a match against the Voiceless Voice deck, and I managed to resolve the Divine Domain effect, which pretty much got rid of his Silent Forcing Barrier, it got rid of his Authority, and he set his Skull Guardian, the Snowbox. Yeah, his Skull Guardian, as well as his 2 copies of Novox. So this card pretty much became a blowout against like his entire board. So essentially what I'm trying to explain here is that the Tistina cards shouldn't be underestimated like individually. I feel like every time you want to test an archetype or test a strategy, you need to look at what can synergize well with it. It's very unfortunate that people just are tunnel visioned on how just bad an archetype is, or an archetype has been historically, and they don't look at it from the perspective that it can work as an engine. Uh, a good example of this was Dangers. Like, Dangers, as their own standalone strategy, never took off. However, Dangers did become a splashable engine in a couple of strategies, and was even meta at the relevant to the point where we still to this day have two of their cards limited. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. Uh, I feel like it's very very important for you to like realize and analyze a lot of cards in the game. I've showcased archetypes here in the past that are very obscure to some people, but for others, it kind of does make a lot of sense. I showcased Valence, for example. That is an archetype that never took off, like meta competitively wise. It did have like one or two regional tops, and it did top in the OCG, like for a bit, but it never really took off as a deck. And it's kind of unfortunate because some of these decks are actually not that bad. It's just that they're overshadowed by the other 30 plus decks that are already remotely playable in the format. That's it from me. I hope you found this to your liking and understanding. More videos from me coming soon. Keep practicing and keep doing.